All right, I'd like to welcome you to this edition of In the Conference Room with Mark S. Lee. I want you to sit back and relax and enjoy the conversation. We have leaders from across the great city of Detroit, the state of Michigan, and beyond, to kind of give you an update on what's going on. And before we proceed, I got to say congratulations to the Detroit Tigers. I know they stumbled going into the All-Star break, but hey, what we got 6 or 7 guys. I mean, that's awesome. Congratulations, Tigers, and hopefully you come back from the All-Star break, recharge, and take to the playoffs and maybe beyond. All right, so this person here needs no introduction here in the state of Michigan. You know, the Congresswoman from the 11th Congressional District, Ms. Haley Stevens, is joining me in the conference room. And Haley Stevens, Congresswoman, thanks for joining me. How you doing?
I am doing better by being with you right now. No, this is a treat to be talking to Mark Lee. And he's got this great show, and I know you're working on the YouTube as well. And I'm actually in Washington, D.C. today. We're legislating again, kind of coming out of a few hairy things at the top of the month. But every day I get to stand up for Michigan is a great day. So I'm glad to be talking with you about all those things.
Well, let's talk about all these things that are happening coming out of Washington. And for those of you tuning in, we do this on a weekly basis as well and appreciate your ongoing support, the positive feedback. Thank you very much. We appreciate all of you. But now we want to just kind of jump in and talk about Michigan. And a couple of major legislations were signed recently. Obviously, on July 4th, I believe. I want to turn over to you. It's the One Big Beautiful Bill. And we've been hearing so much about this bill, and I think people are still trying to understand and break it down. But I want to bring it down to the Michigan level. Exactly what is this bill from your perspective, and how does it impact Michiganders as moving forward, quite frankly?
Yeah, this was a pet project of the president's. And to be honest with you, it was something I just fundamentally disagreed with because essentially what he wants to do is structure the tax code for really, really extraordinarily wealthy people and corporations. And that's an economic viewpoint. And what they said is tax cuts to the gajillionaires and actually some tax increases for even the lowest earners and all the ways and they were going to pay for it. And they were also putting in some investments in there, plus ups to stuff that, like, again, I'm like, well, I don't know why you need to plus this up when you're taking people's health care from them. So what they were doing is they got rid of the ACA subsidies. And what those subsidies were doing is those were keeping healthcare costs low. And this is not to fearmonger because I know so often in politics you hear when somebody disagrees with something, they're going to say, oh my gosh, the sky is going to fall. Well, in this instance, with this legislation, one of the most immediate ramifications is that folks are going to see healthcare costs start to tick up. I was just talking with a township supervisor, basically a mayoral role in Western Wayne County, and she was telling me that their healthcare insurance company is already saying you got to tell your employees who are on our healthcare X, Y, and Z is already going to go up. That you got to let them know, or like this isn't going to get covered. So that's just a headache, right? Then what
Right.
you got that I don't like at all is, and what's going to happen with Michigan are these cuts to Medicaid that'll come down in about 18 months. So I think some people who disagreed with those cuts, who voted for this bill, there was no Democrats who voted for this bill. It's actually a very party line vote. But I think some of the Republicans who disagree with that thought, okay, well, maybe we'll deal with this later, or maybe the Democrats will clean it up. But it's like, come on, guys. And then even the food, what they're doing, it's like SNAP. And I know people want to judge or they say, oh, you should feel shame. I mean, let's be honest, costs are high. I mean, we're all going to the grocery store and it's cross-eyeing and maddening how expensive it is at the grocery store right now. And I think a lot of people, middle class, whatnot, who are going to the grocery store, raising all these kids, if people got big families, or even a couple of kids, I mean, they're putting those bills on the grocery bills on the credit card. And it's kind of like, okay, well, actually, we got Forgotten Harvest, which is great with food distribution, leftover type of canned goods and different things. And they they work with the federal government, and we just got to keep people fed. We have to
Yeah.
keep people fed. I mean, literally, people are saying to me, that they used to never think about totally. They had their list, maybe they throw in an extra couple items at the store. I mean, honestly, I think it can be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month to feed a family of four. I mean, to really
Yeah,
feed your family with all the things that go into it. And that's spooky. So why are we cutting the food benefits now? All right.
yeah,
And then the last piece on this, Mark, and I appreciate the time to walk your viewers. I know this is a listening station, and this is another area where I've disagreed with the president, cuts on the manufacturing investments and in the new innovations. Motor City, like you're saying with the Tigers, the lights
mhm,
are on. We got a lot of good things going. Detroit has had the highest levels of jobs in 50 years.
mhm.
It's the whole testament to the people and the environment and the fact that we said, hey, you pay taxes into the United States Treasury. I'm a steward of those taxpayer dollars.
Right, right.
I want those to come back in. They've been coming back in with all the new mobility and new automotive. We know we're competing globally. Our workers are still working. Well, when they disinvest and they're changing the tax structure, I'm worried about actually
Yeah.
some closures,
So,
and some job loss. So that's kind of what I think that bill's going to be for Michigan. I don't like it.
so let's drill it down to Michigan. Excuse me, in terms of the economic impact, in terms of the potential number of jobs being lost, the number of people who might be kicked off of Medicaid, for example, as well. Let's take it down to that level. So let's start with the job situation, the potential economic impact on the state of Michigan of this bill. What are you hearing in terms of your initial reports and numbers or data that would suggest a potential impact on businesses and the economic situation in Michigan?
Well, first of all, and our governor's been on this big time, it's 700,000 people on their Medicaid. All right.
That
That's
will lose Medicaid.
will lose Medicaid. And we know of right now 3 or 4 hospitals that are really going to be pushed to the brink and might close. If this goes, the bill's gone forward, it's been passed into law, but if we don't do something immediately, I mean, the bill they passed is doing this. It is going to hurt hospitals and it's going to take people's Medicaid. We also know that there are some projects that have come down from other industrial policy that we did under the previous administration, the Biden administration, that uh, that's the rug's being pulled out. The president doesn't agree with them. He didn't give us another solution. He didn't give us another work program. I mean, he's cutting Job Corps. I mean, now he's cutting manufacturing investments, and I'm kind of wondering, so when those projects deal with that kind of ramification, what happens to those jobs? And specifically, we're going to see that, in some of these outer areas, Lansing and in Lake Orion, there's been a lot of controversy. And these sometimes are guys, their egos are so big that they think they can say anything. So when the vice president was campaigning, he came into Michigan, he called a plant up in Lansing that had received some of these investments, table scraps. Table scraps.
Mm,
It has hundreds of people working there. That's not table scraps for those people. And it's like, come on, we want to compete and win on tomorrow. We want to win today.
right.
We want to make sure China's not eating our lunch. And we want to make sure that Michigan is a place that's thriving. And something that's kind of got my attention, Metro Detroit, we're still, relatively low unemployment, around 4%, hovering under
Yeah, of course.
4%, but statewide, 5.4. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say this, I'm not trying to knock anyone politically. I'm just saying we have the second fastest growing unemployment in the nation. And now a bill like
Mm,
this, what happens if
mm,
you lose your job and you do
mhm.
want to go and utilize some food assistance benefits just to, we all know what it's like with bills and, finances and things like
Yeah.
that. So anyway, that's just what I see as very visceral for us here in Michigan. And it's frankly, Mark, one of the reasons I'm running for United States Senate, because I get things done for Michigan. I'm a very bipartisan, effective lawmaker. I know when to compromise, but right now I'm not compromising at the expense of my values, and two, I'm not compromising at the expense of Michigan. And that's what this bill was. It's a
So
a cut on Michigan.
So let me ask you then. Oh, so it's been signed into law. So technically,
But
it's a law. Yeah.
it's the
So
law.
it's the law. So when will this law be implemented? And I know there's a lot of discussion about parts of the law as you started to do. You're doing a good job of breaking it down. What are some recourse or options, for example, with some of these options? So the first question is, when will this become effective? These changes effective immediately? And two, any type of recourse or alternative programs that can be provided to residents of the state of Michigan in light of this bill.
Yeah. And I know a lot of your listeners are tied into the faith community, and we know we've always got to have faith. We've always got to have hope. And it's not to say that the sky is totally fallen, but to answer responsibly your question here, the cuts on the health care that people have right now, the Affordable Care Act, subsidies that were put in place during COVID to keep costs low are now going away. We will see almost immediately certain things tick up. I mean, I'm not trying to drive people crazy, but I absolutely would check in on your medicines. I'd check in with your doctor. I'd check in before you have an appointment. And we want you going to the doctor, but just make sure you have a sense right now. Look at your copays. For some of your listeners who are maybe on Social Security, they're retired, they're out of the workplace, Medicare, they're going to see those ramifications also if you're on Medicare from the ACA subsidies cuts. If you're on Medicaid, and Medicaid, I want to be really clear, can be something that is used in very extraordinary circumstances for people. And I know some of these people, I know some of these families. For instance, if you have a severe disability, my gosh, I know families whose kids had a major health episode. We all are familiar with children's and what could happen,
Right.
God forbid, you pray that you never see anything like this, but like a child cancer or a major disability. And I am telling you right now, some of these families, if they didn't have Medicaid, it'd be an $8 million bill for them. So
Mm,
Medicaid not only provides for the health care, but also provides for the care of their kid. It provides for that, healthcare social worker who can come in and give mom or dad some relief so that after school, they can still be working their job. And these families are also saying they're going to have to leave the workforce
yeah.
potentially. So the Medicaid cuts are not set to go into effect for another year and a half, 2 years. The hospitals as well. And I love working with our hospitals and hearing from our hospitals. They do so much. They're such pillars of our communities. They're heck where people are born, obviously where they
Right.
overcome things and sometimes where they pass on to the next chapter in life, the afterlife, obviously. But these hospitals, they have really said it. They're like, listen, some of these cuts with Medicaid, we're going to be able to manage. Some of them we will not. And
Mhm.
we are going to see cuts to services. Now, why am I walking everybody through this? I just want to remind everybody, why are we talking about this? Why did this happen? Because you think, gosh, this sounds so cruel. This happened because of a different economic view for the country.
Mhm.
Again, the Trump folks, they believe in major tax cuts for the major wealthy. Honestly, our poorest earners, and sometimes somebody's, maybe doing part-time or they're really at minimum wage. And those lowest earners, they're seeing a $700 increase in their taxes. It's like, what are you doing if you're making 25,000?
Right.
Come on, you're really, and then and it's like the mega wealthy, it's even hard to conceive how they have this much wealth. It's kind of like, okay, but that's the thing. And forget the individual, because sometimes people work hard for their dough. I get it. I want people to be able and I'm particularly thinking about your entrepreneurs and your small businesses. I actually have a piece of legislation for Black businesses because it came out of COVID, which inspired me. It's a really neat bill. Again, another reason why I'm running for Senate, because I'm like, well, if I get the platform of a senator, I can talk about that bill too, and I can get, maybe like a Cory Booker or something like that on the
Yeah.
bill, or my friend Raphael Warnock, who was in Michigan. He was actually, this is interesting. He was trying to get to Michigan for our NAACP weekend,
Right,
and
right.
he couldn't because the Senate was voting on that bill, and he was trying to
Oh,
stop it. So
oh, wow, wow.
anyway, I'm talking to Mark like he's my oldest friend in the book, but I love media like this, and I really appreciate everyone listening, really taking the time to listen. I'm
Yeah.
working on to be an honest broker for all you too. You know, sometimes you turn on the cable news and it's just, or if you have cable, but like all the buzz that goes on, and this is deeper than that, but it's just a different view. You know, these guys, it goes back to Reagan. They believed in trickle down. Well, nothing's trickling down. Keep the
Yeah.
investments going. I mean, the things I work on, and I know we were going to talk about my, you know, what's called my minerals bill. It's called Unearth America's Future Act. And that
Mhm.
bill is actually what we did with Chips and Science, which was supporting industry here in Michigan and saying we're not going to be sending everything to China anymore. And how we do that, look, I'm an elected official. I'm not just a politician talking, I'm working.
Right,
So
right.
the other chapter to this is the copper, the lithium, the magnesium, the graphite, the gallium, all this stuff that gets refined and then processed into what's called a critical material
Yeah,
goes to China. It literally
yeah.
all goes to China, and then they sell us it back here.
So
And
we're kind of losing that intellectual property over to China and other
yes,
resources over there. And
exactly.
then in turn, and they're selling it for their own personal benefit or, yeah, country's benefit, I suppose, right?
Mhm. And
Mhm.
this actually goes back to my time in the Obama administration when I was doing the cars R stuff. We were doing the restructuring of General Motors and Chrysler, trying to make sure
Right.
the companies didn't fly off a cliff. And I got to be the staffer in the room. You know, I was backbenching, but I was absorbing everything I could. You know, I mean, I literally got myself into a cabinet meeting one time and I got to staff a cabinet meeting. And this is exactly, Mark, 15 years ago, what I was learning from Obama. We are dependent on China for these critical components of our supply chain. I'm talking about critical materials, that's how they're dubbed, but also those microchips. And we remember when those microchips, we couldn't get them during the
I
COVID.
remember that. Yeah,
It's like we couldn't sell darn cars. And so
yeah.
that led to some legislation that I actually, because again, I'm the geek on this. So I'm like, yeah, I remember this from Obama. Let's do, I love our manufacturing economy. And this is all JOBS's and not just a job, a good paying job that will put money in your pocket. This is a plan for Michigan. You get Trump every day, it's another trade war with another country and then another deal with another country. I'm over here talking to you from the Motor City. I mean, I'm a Motor City girl. I'm obviously
Mhm.
taking votes today in the nation's capital, which I'm always
Right.
honored to be doing on behalf.
Understood. Yeah, no,
But
understood.
but look, it's like, where's the deal for Michigan? Where's
Yeah.
the deal for Michigan? And that's what Haley Stevens, that's what I want to do for us. That is why I sit in Congress, which I love doing it. I earn it every day. And that's why I said, you know what? I feel this moment for our state in our bones. There's a guy who's running for Senate. His name is Mike Rogers. He ran last time, and he truly just said, he goes, I want to rubber stamp the Trump agenda. Well, you should be rubber stamping the Michigan agenda. That's the deals we need being cut.
Well,
That's why I'm running for Senate.
as we begin to wrap, I do want to get two quick questions
Sure,
in.
I'll be quicker.
One going back to the legislation signed on July 4th. And just talk about the impact on the automotive industry. Obviously, Detroit, the state of Michigan, we're still the automotive capital of the world. The state's a manufacturing powerhouse, no question about it. Talk about that impact on the manufacturing sector, specifically the automotive industry, or anything else that you deem appropriate. And secondly, excuse me, I've been talking a lot about this on television as well. People asking me for my opinion, but let me get your opinion. Obviously, the tariffs. Things have been pushed back now to August 1st for some of these other countries. Talk about the impact that tariffs are currently having on the state of Michigan as well. So, twofold question: the impact of the big beautiful bill on the manufacturing sector, and the impact that tariffs are currently having as well.
Yeah. And my read on this from both the economic and manufacturing lens, two areas where I've got subject matter expertise, is the bill that was signed on January 4th is leading to
Well,
uncertainty.
actually signed on July 4th. July 4th.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's, yes. What did I say? January?
Yes, yes,
Oh, no, I
yes.
meant July.
Okay.
It was July.
Just to
Bill
just to
signed on
clarify.
July 4th.
All right.
Yes, no, just a couple weeks ago, the bill signed, thank you for catching that.
You're
Yes, it
welcome.
was signed on July 4th, was, it's a disinvestment in Michigan manufacturing. And why and how we know that is because it's changes to the tax code. And what they were trying to say is, hey, we want to compete in all the areas. We don't want a Tesla coming from China and eating our lunch. We don't want the newest technology coming from anywhere but in Michigan. And so you had not just the Fords and the General Motors, everyone always just, those are the two that, or three, with Chrysler always come to mind. But I'm talking about all the smaller businesses, the bigger suppliers, but still not necessarily the nameplate companies. They now have a different tax code. It's not that they're being choked on that front with the July 4th bill. But what is happening is that they are being a little set back. They're being a little dinged. And in some ways, majorly dinged too. Like maybe 2 months ago they were doing one thing and planning for one thing. Now they've got to plan for another. And what that means for us is that the jobs are going to change. And the jobs are going to change in the sense that there's going to be insecurity and maybe not necessarily immediate job replacement. The other question that you asked, which also encompasses this, the tariffs. 55 tariff announcements in 100 days. That is what the president did in his first 100 days. 55 tariff announcements. This is sweeping trade policy. First of all, he's not even going through Congress. Second of all, I fundamentally disagree with that level of chaos coming into our economic agenda. It's just, ask these small businesses. They can't operate like that. Detroit
Yeah.
Axle has gone public. Detroit Axle has gone public. And I have a Manufacturing Monday program. I call it Manufacturing Monday. I go in and visit with these manufacturers and I get to know them and I learn about them and I meet their workers and their products. It's geek out day, okay?
Yeah.
But I articulate for them, when they tell me what they need in Washington, then I articulate it. Because without jobs and good paying jobs, people are left holding the bag. Well, Axle
Yeah.
told me, Detroit Axle said, and Mark, they said, look, we don't know if these tariffs, this is in February. He said, we don't know. It's not directly on us. I'm not going to take it too personally. He said, I'm going to feel it out. 2 months later, he said he is so to the brink that he might have to move some jobs out of Michigan. Because
Yeah.
why? It's because all the little things that go into his brake, the parts components, from the type of metal
Right.
again, or the tubing, like I'm looking at like something like this,
Mhm.
he's paying a tariff on that. So
Yeah.
now his product is too expensive and he can't sell it. It's
Mm.
ridiculous. That company is amazing. They hire people who've had records. He's got a lot of
Mhm.
formerly incarcerated. He helps people rebuild their lives. I've been there. It's like one of the best
Yeah.
manufacturing floors I've ever walked around. And he's not just crying wolf. He's just like, I gotta function. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting at with the tariffs being annoying. The mayor of Farmington Hills, she had a small business roundtable, a lot of minority businesses in there. She said, how many of you have been impacted by the tariffs so far? Everyone, she sent me a picture.
Mhm.
Everyone raised their hand. It's just like, come on, you're getting Musk with his chainsaw. All
Yeah.
right. You're wreaking havoc on the government. You're not hand holding. Why are you doing this? Are you drunk on power? I don't
Yeah.
know. All I
Yeah.
know is I disagree with you. And this is what motivates my work. And I just want to say, Mark, after every big bill signing, I am coming on your show because you are such an awesome person to talk to. This is the way we should be talking about federal policy. And we're lucky to have you in our state.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you. As we wrap up, how can people get information on Haley Stevens? Where's your website so they can go to and get just stay up to date in terms of what's happening in DC.
Yeah, and I've got two websites. I've got a political website, which is Haley, Haley,
Mhm.
for FORMI, standing for Michigan, haleyformi.com. And that is my campaign website. All right. So as I'm campaigning and all that, and of course on social media, Haley for MI is on the Instagram and Facebook and all that. And I'm just trying to, make people feel connected, which is exciting. And then I also have a congressional website, and I really want your viewers to know that my congressional office which is located in Farmington Hills, helps people. If you've got questions before the federal government, if you've got questions about this bill and what it means for you, if you've got questions about the IRS and Social Security, come and see me. And that website is stevens.house.gov. I've got an office of people who want to help you, who want to hear from you on again, if there's some paperwork or bureaucracy, we help our servicemen and women, our veterans navigating the VA in different departments. I've returned lots of money to people that, Social Security, disability, if they have something gummed up, and even if they're got a lawyer, sometimes they call the congressperson. Our job is to interface with these federal agencies and help you. Stevens.house.gov.
Well, what I like to do is to have you back on for periodic updates in terms of what's going on.
Yes.
This has been an incredible conversation. It educated me because I think, the news every day is a fire hose of something. We're drinking,
Oh, I know.
we're
I
drinking
trust
on
me,
that
I'm
fire.
drinking from it too. I'm like, what now? And
And
you sit at your phone, you look at your phone
sometimes
and you're like, what is it saying now? Oh my
sometimes
God,
it's overpowering, and
I
so
know.
it helps
This
us to have these
AI
types
is
of
gonna take
conversations.
over everything. We're not letting it.
Well,
That's how we're
well,
gonna do it, is by talking, and you got a community of viewers and loyalists and things like that. And that's what this stuff is all about for me, is connecting in the community. So thank you
well, hey,
so
hey,
much.
Stevens, I know you got a vote to say after. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you joining me in the conference room. Go out, make it a great day.
Go team.
And everybody else, go out, make it a great day, make it a great week. Don't forget to subscribe as well as you're checking out this interview. Spread the word. We appreciate all of you. Go out, make it a great day, make it a great week. I know it's July. I'm still going to say go Tigers because we got a half a season ahead of us. All right, we'll talk to you all soon. Take care, everyone.